After the war, the Nazis faced the history books, they tell of their defeat in 45. They all came out of the woodwork on the day the Nazi died. They say the prisoner of Spandau was a symbol of defeat, whilst Hess remained in prison and the fascists they would beat. So the promise of an Aryan world would never materialize. So why did they all come out of the woodwork on the day the Nazi died? The world is riddled with maggots, the maggots are getting fat. They're making a tasty meal of all the bosses and bureaucrats. They're taking over the boardrooms and they're fat and full of pride. And they all came out of the woodwork on the day the Nazi died. So if you meet with these historians, I'll tell you what to say. Tell them that the Nazis never really went away. They're out there burning houses down and peddling racist lies. And we'll never rest again until every Nazi dies.
Woke up one morning and there were soldiers. Oh, bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Woke up one morning and there were soldiers. The invasion had begun. Lend me your shoulder, we'll stand together. Oh, bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Lend me your shoulder, we'll stand together. But I feel my time has come, and if I die here for the resistance, oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. And if I die here for the resistance, you must lay me in my grave among the flowers upon the mountain. Oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Among the flowers upon the mountain, let me rest among the brave. Someday the people will pick the flowers. Oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Someday the people will pick the flowers, and they will remember my name. This is the flower of the resistance. Oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. This is the flower of the resistance, and those who died for liberty. This is the flower of the resistance. Oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. This is the flower of the resistance, and those who died for liberty. This is the flower of our resistance, and those who died for liberty.
From all of you good workers, good news to you I'll tell of how the good old Union has come in here to dwell.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
My daddy was a miner and I'm a miner's son, and I'll stick with the Union till every battle.
Josie is on a vacation far away. Come around and talk it over. I've got so many things I want to say. How are we all? Are we well? I do hope so. I do hope so. I am well. Tired but well. Still too fucking hot. Like, it's cooled down a bit, but it's still... Ugh. It's just a little unpleasant, isn't it? Yes, glory to Rory Katz. It was an honour to have known him. What a fucking legend. Salutes in chat for Rory Katz, a fallen legend of the channel. Yeah, by the way, Kieran, in your description there, when you said, I went to the heavy horse sanctuary with my girlfriend today, I'll be honest with you, I thought, is this going to be a joke about his girlfriend? Is he like doing a sexism here? But thankfully not. Thankfully not. Who? Rory Katz, the cat on screen. Layla, you may be new to the channel. You may have missed him, but it's quite a couple of years ago now, I suppose. Rory Katz passed away. God bless him. Honestly, he was the heart and soul of the channel. It hasn't been the same since. I've been phoning it in, frankly. Now that I don't need the money to feed him, I'm happy to waste away into nothing myself. You know. Yeah. My dog died this year. Well, R.I.P. Kath. Yeah. They're very much family, like the two-legged bastards as well. You've only been here 4 or 5 months. That's fair enough, Layla. Yeah, that's fine. But anyway, the cat you see on screen was my chum. He's the emote that you see occasionally, the wiggling emote thing. That's Rory Katz. Fair enough, Kieran. Well done to you. Yeah. So fucking evil. Is that a reference to anything? I mean, I've put the word Zionism in tonight's title, so we might get some crazy cunts. I'm not suggesting, Nazi, that is necessarily you. You could just be commenting on something completely unrelated, but I do suspect there will be, yeah. There will be some interesting chaps along. Yes, Banhammer at the ready. And I'm going to have to be very careful, because if there's one thing Zionists love to do, it's silence their opponents. So I'm going to have to be very careful with my spicy jokes tonight. Just in case. You know. Yeah. These two wigglers are supposed to be Rory Katz. That is a burn on the artists that made them. That I paid to make them, by the way. I don't steal art. I'm not AI. Although I am as good as Allen Iverson at basketball. So. They called me white chocolate. I got high for the first time yesterday. How was it, 255? What did you take? Admit to your illegality on air. That's always a good legal situation. Probably just a bit of weed though, right? How was it? Anyway. Right. Yes, we're going to be doing some stuff about Zionism and stuff today, so you do have to précis such talk. I took too much and felt really heavy. What took too much of what? What did you take and in what form? I'm curious now, Clem Fandango. Anyway, right. You do have to lead in with discussions on this topic by saying that not all Zionists are Jews. In fact, most of the world's Zionists are actually evangelical Christians in the United States of America. So when I say Zionism,
sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
That is an unfortunate piece of timing. Thank you, Gennaro Gattuso. I'm doing a serious... it pops up. Fucking hell. Okay. So when I refer to Zionism or Zionists, I am not suggesting all Jewish people. In fact, I'm not even necessarily suggesting any Jewish people. I'm saying that there is a political philosophy, a messianic, in many respects, land-grabbing, imperialist, genocidal, murderous philosophy, which most Jewish people would not be on board with. When I talk about Israel, I'm not talking about all Jewish people, because as Israeli propagandists like to point out, actually not all Israelis are Jewish people. Not all members of the IDF are Jewish people. And so I'm going to take their lead in that and say that when I refer to Israelis, I'm not referring to Jewish people. I'm referring to Israelis. I'm referring to the Israeli government. I'm referring to the supposedly Israeli quote-unquote defence force. It is not used for defence, virtually ever. In fact, actually, with the Hannibal Directive, actually is an active threat to the ongoing life and safety of Israeli citizens. When I'm referring specifically to the Israeli population, I will say so. Now, I know that even giving that disclaimer at the start, I'm still going to have some bad faith actors who will claim that any criticism of Israel is anti-Semitism. And to those people I say, you can suck my dick. You can suck all of my dicks. You can suck 2, 3, 4, 5 of my dicks. You can suck the farts out of my arsehole. I don't care. You are a lying piece of shit. And you'd better hope that that hell thing isn't real, because you have a Lake of Fire ticket express mode. Thank you, Carl Brown, for gifting a couple of memberships on the YouTubes. Much love to you. Question from Clem H. Fandango. Is it gross to assume someone is probably a Zionist because they're an American Jew? I've seen a bit of that. It is gross, yeah. Yeah, there are some very good anti-Zionist Jews. Again, the vast majority of Zionists in the world are American, but they are also Christian. That's the thing. Now, unfortunately, because of the way in which Zionist influences have tried to inculcate all Jewish people as a part of their thing, because again, they are a Jewish supremacist ethno-state project. They want Jewish people to go from their homelands to Israel, to colonise. Because this is the thing. As with all Nazi land expansion experiments throughout history, there are never actually enough people to fill the Lebensraum. Because they don't actually need Lebensraum. They want Lebensraum. They feel superior and feel entitled to Lebensraum. But they can never actually find the people to fill it. The Nazis couldn't in Eastern Europe. The Americans couldn't in the West. If you look at the population densities of North America, even in recent times when you've seen the vast expansion of cities like Los Angeles and Phoenix, Arizona and places like this, they're still very disparate. The vast majority of the population still lives in the eastern half of the United States. It didn't need manifest destiny, it felt entitled to that land. So it took it. And the same is true even with the much smaller scale version of the Greater Israel Project. There are not enough Israeli citizens to fill that land. They need all the Jewish people to go there. So they inculcate all Jewish people around the world, or they try to, with peer pressure, to think of themselves as Jewish and Israeli, even if they're from London, or Chicago, or Buenos Aires. I don't know how many Jews live in Buenos Aires, but you get my point. And so a lot of American Jews have a lot of pressure put on them to feel like they have to be supportive of Zionism. And most of them aren't like genocidal psychopaths. They're just raised with this notion that Israel is a part of their heritage, their story. And so they'll do the kind of liberal Zionism, where, you know, if you ask them, are they a Zionist, they might say yes. And if you ask them for a definition of Zionism, they'll say Israel has a right to exist, or something as generic as that, or Jewish people deserve to feel safety, or some, you know, some generic basically okay thing. Something that's far more palatable than, you know, we're better than Arabs who are, you know, disgusting dogs who deserve to be killed, which is the position of many members of the Israeli cabinet right now. So again, it's worth bearing all of that in mind when dealing with individuals, because I think there are a lot of very good people who might otherwise describe themselves in some kind of liberal Zionist way who can be won around by reality. And I think we're seeing that to a degree with the primaries that just happened in the United States, where AIPAC have become an absolute cancerous toxin to your opportunities to become a member of the Democratic caucus. And that's absolutely right that that's the case. It still baffles me as to how that is even legal, that an obvious foreign entity like that is allowed to just buy politicians. But it is. But thankfully, at least on one side of the aisle, that is beginning to change a little, which is good. They'll still find ways to try and get around it. They'll call themselves something different, but the funding will be the same route, I'm sure. Anyway, the point being, we're going to be taking a look at a few different things. I wanted to take a look at a kind of positive take, though, initially, on not just Zionism, but the situation in general. From a person who's become a very divisive figure, shouldn't even be really a national or international figure of any particular note, because they're a Twitch streamer. But this is the year 20 and 26, and such people are potentially political figures. I'm talking, of course, about the man who definitely did 9/11 and that, or something, according to the various people. Hassan Ubay.
Can we just ask you about the Home Office revoking your visa? We're from Channel 4 News in England.
Yeah, it's a sad state of affairs that the Labour government did such an undemocratic thing. But I guess that's the state of the world now. That's the state of liberal democracy now. I didn't have a problem going into the country under Tory leadership, which, you know, clearly I'm at bigger odds with.
They've said that your presence in the UK wouldn't be conducive to the public good. Do you think that could harm Abdullah Said's campaign being associated with you?
No, I don't think so.
No, the people of Michigan couldn't give two fucks what fucking the Shabanopticon cares about. Like, what the fuck? Honestly, Britain still has this notion that its opinions on anything matter. Really, no one gives a fuck. No one cares. We are as irrelevant as we have ever been. And I'm talking literally like when we were cavemen living in fucking hovels in the ground and shit. Like, Britain is nothing. If you want to app the lapdog, like, no one goes to the lapdog and asks for their opinion on anything. They're the lapdog. You sit in the corner and you bark and fetch the fucking newspaper when it comes to the door. That's it. That's all you do. Dr. Phil Decker with some sartorial barbs there. I mean, I don't like the baseball cap as a general rule, to be honest. I'm not a baseball cap person, but this is America. This is America. The baseball cap with every type of clothing is just a thing. Now a little plastic dog at the door. Shut the fuck up. We don't need to be going down these paths.
Put off some voters?
No, I don't think so. The overwhelming majority of the Western world, I think, recognizes that what Israel is doing is a genocide. I think the media is now playing catch-up at this point, but for the most part, the people are pretty united on this issue, and no matter...
That's ultimately, by the way, why they're cracking down on protests and stuff, because they realise they're at odds with their populace. And it's sort of too late to completely row back on it. Now, you'd think they'd row back a bit, but rowing back incurs the wrath of people who, you know, maybe start migrant riots into your enclaves in North Africa. Yeah, that definitely was an Israeli fucking psyop, by the way. It stinks to high heaven. Look into it. But yeah, they know they're at odds with their populace, and so they're just trying to silence people as much as they can.
No matter how hard governments move in the direction of repression, you can't really hide from the truth, and you can't really hide from the shame either. So, you know, it's a setback, it's a hurdle, it's a real shame as well, especially considering that, I mean, I personally thought the UK was a bastion of liberal democracy, that these values like freedom of expression were values that especially the Labour government would be committed to.
Now, I know what he's doing there, right? It's good rhetoric. It's solid rhetoric. You're kind of fluffing the other country to make it seem like you think this, that, and the other. And maybe he does think that. I don't know. But it's good. It's solid rhetoric. But what I will say is it's also bollocks. It's total bollocks. Britain isn't those things. Like, we've had our moments. We're better than some other places, sure. But, like, okay, we're not fucking crucifying people for witchcraft, but, you know. We are selling guns to the government and buying their oil who crucify people for witchcraft. So, you know.
Hopefully there will be some attitude shifts happening with Burnham.
The government says it is committed to those values.
Now, attitude shifts. Attitude shifts under Andy Burnham. Shall we see the attitude shift we have seen in the last couple of days? Because, where are we? Oh yeah, they arrested a 16-year-old for holding a placard that said, "I support plasticine action."
Yeah. Alright. Last 10, you're under arrest on suspicion of displaying an article in support of a prescribed terrorist organisation.
Palestine Action Group. It's not Palestine Action Group. It's not the terrorism group.
Come on.
I'm 60 years old and I'm being arrested.
So we're now arresting children under the age of 18 for holding a sign that says plasticine action. So in hoc to Zionist fucking infiltration are we in this nation? So pathetic are our politicians and police force. They were arresting minors. Well, we would usually batter the shit out of coal miners, but that's a different type of miner. Minors as in children below the age of majority. For holding a sign that reads something akin to, but not actually anything like, Palestine action. It says plasticine action. So if you're wondering how pathetic we are as a country, here you go. And if you're wondering if Andy Burnham was going to stop any of this authoritarian shit, no, the former member of the Labour Friends of Israel has not stopped any of this shit. I don't know why the Zionists were worried. Well, police can't read, but they know what they're doing regardless.
Values, but it says that your presence, you threaten those values. You're not conducive to the public good because of some of your rhetoric.
Yeah, of course the government is going to say that. They're not going to be like, yeah, we hate free speech now, but were they really committed to it with the pensioners that they arrested for the Palestine action protests that were taking place?
Well, whether it's pensioners or 16-year-olds, it's the extremes. That's the kind of extremists they like to arrest. Not the fascists that are actually like planning to do terrorism. No. The extremes of age of people who don't like genocide.
I don't think so. I think that was a significant mode of repression from a government that recognizes that they are out of step with the needs of their voters, with the needs of the masses
Yeah.
masses that recognize that
absolutely.
Israel is committing a genocide, and the masses that demand a change from their government. That is the fundamental of liberal democracy, something that I believe in, something that I'm fighting for here in the United States of America, as the Trump administration is putting democracy in the crosshairs. And it is a...
Yeah, that's right. It is 13:12. It's 1 on the digital clock, everyone. The only stopped clock in the world that is always right.
real shame to see that exact same mechanism of repression get repeated in a country like the United Kingdom.
It's something the country will deny, obviously, the United Kingdom's government.
Of course it's going to deny it.
Will you apply to go again now that Andy Burnham is in charge?
Yes, of course. And there's, we're in works. There were a bunch of different conferences that I was supposed to take part in that I had to take part in digitally. Now, in the age of the internet, it is also additionally silly to try to restrict movement in this regard. But I think it was more so a message. It was a message to everybody else that to think twice before they speak out against Israel.
And what was the even if they want to say oh well, he justified 9/11 or whatever, which is ridiculous, but whatever. What was the point of banning Cenk Uygur? What the fuck did he do? You're banned for being too much of a fucking cringe lord.
And against the UK's relationship with Israel, against the United States' relationship with Israel. It's very frustrating. And it also has an additional compounding effect in terms of growing anti-Semitism. Not only is this false association of Zionism and Judaism very harmful for Jews living in the Western world, and it's something that I actually ironically warned about the last time I was in the UK when I spoke at the Oxford Union, which is what I was supposed to do this time as well before I got banned. It's also very harmful for democracy in general. We should not feel comfortable about our governments taking action like this.
And what about some British Jews who say they feel uncomfortable that some of the criticism of Israel does tip over into anti-Semitism?
They're perfectly allowed to have that opinion. Is what I would say. They're allowed to have that opinion. That's fine. They're allowed to say that opinion. What they can't do is shut down everyone who disagrees with them. What they can't do is say that because you don't have the same opinion as them, you're banned from speaking. You're a terrorist. You're not allowed in the country. You have to be arrested for holding a sign. That's the problem. I don't give a fuck. The Zionists are allowed to speak and should be allowed to speak. As long as they're not calling for fucking violence, which unfortunately they so often do, because fucking Zionism and violence go hand in hand. That is the way ethno-nationalism and imperialist expansion work. But as long as they're not doing that, they should be allowed to speak. And if they want to say, you're a fucking anti-Semite for saying this, fine, they're allowed to say that. It's annoying and frustrating and silly and meant to disrupt and fuck up the conversation. But they're allowed to say it. And I can say, go fuck yourself. Look, I don't care. I don't care that that's what you think. I'm going to say my piece. And that's the problem. Only one side of this discussion is being protected, and the other is not.
Some British Jews say that makes them feel very unsafe.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. Totally understand that. It's something that I oppose. Anti-Semitism is something that I fought back against. It is the canary in the coal mine of fascism. It's completely unacceptable. I'm an anti-fascist. I'm uncompromising on those values. I will always fight back against anti-Semitism as well. The fear can sometimes be very valid.
Joe Biden's cancer has spread to his bones. I didn't know he had bones left. Did I? Okay, no, good.
And sometimes I think the fear steps into the territory of defending the nation-state of Israel and its actions. I think people are people, countries are countries. I criticize Saudi Arabia vehemently.
You're not suggesting the fear isn't real for people who feel the fear?
Of course not. Of course not.
The fear is real, And it's in part justified, but it's also in part not justified. I'm less willing to accept free speech when it comes to right-wing douchebags who spread hate and misinformation. Well, Layla, I get what you mean about hate. That is certainly a problem, but you're allowed, unfortunately, you're allowed to spread disinformation. Like, that's, okay, it's not nice, but you are allowed to bullshit. It shouldn't be a crime to be a fucking knobhead, you know? Hatred is different. Although what I will say, actually, is that I've come to a sort of conclusion that for people like Zionists, and to a degree sort of Nazis and people like that, white supremacist types, it's not actually hatred that sparks what they are. It's not hatred. Hatred only takes you so far. You can only really hate people you sort of know, really. Or people you don't know at all at a distance because of things you've been told that are probably not true. But, like, hatred almost puts... Look at it this way, right? The white supremacist feels themselves superior to, well, non-white people. Or even certain types of white people like Catholics or whatever that they don't particularly like, whatever. It's a feeling of superiority. Hatred puts you on a similar level to another person. You hate them. But they're sort of on your level. What Zionists and people like Zionists, race supremacists, think isn't really hatred, although I'd say isn't hatred, although they certainly don't like the people, you know, they're oppressing and want to oppress and want to ethnically cleanse. It's condescension. It's contempt. Not so much hatred, contempt. Hatred is an acceptance that they're sort of in the same ballpark as you, but you just don't like them for whatever reason. It's contempt. It's a vibe, really, rather than just hatred for the sake of hatred. Because, like I say, hatred can make you kill one person, or make you want to hurt one person, or 2 people, or 10 people. Contempt, and I mean like a real guttural in the bottom of their pit of their stomach, contempt for a group of people, can make you kill millions. And that's the difference. I don't see hatred so much as I see an absolute denial of their humanity. It's contempt these people feel. These other people not only aren't worthy of being hated, they're not worthy of anything. They're not worthy. They're beneath you, you know? Layla, you don't care about the pedantics, that's fine. Do you? That's grand. I care about the pedantics, I guess. I care about accurately describing things. You take a different approach? Fine, grand.
And I do think that there is a legitimate reason for it as well. I think it's not a secret that anti-Semitism has historically exploded in times of Israel's sieges in Gaza, and this time being the most consequential one, the most violent one, has also led to an increase in anti-Semitism.
Is it more violent than the original Nakba? I don't know. Possibly. It's certainly got more sophisticated weaponry. More, you know, dangerous weaponry, but in terms of numbers, I suppose it doesn't really matter. But, well, I mean, it doesn't matter in terms of they're both really fucking bad.
We believe that is partially born out of this false association between Judaism and Zionism, a false association between the nation state of Israel and Jews living in the Western world, Jews all around the world. We oppose that, and we will continue fighting back against that, no matter what people say.
Are some in the Democratic Party, in the establishment, out of touch with how many younger voters especially are feeling about issues like Israel and what's going on in Gaza?
Yeah, obviously. Like, what a silly question.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not a secret. I think this race, as well as many other races that I've played somewhat of a role in, I had the honor to work alongside some of these wonderful candidates. This insurgent movement that's growing in this country has proven time and time again that...
I'll see you later, Layla. Hopefully you're feeling better soon. Much love.
It's not just about Israel, but a litany of different issues as well. It's about corporatism. For some, it's about capitalism. But for many, it's about corruption and a lack of interest from our politicians to address some of these economic pains that people are experiencing. I mean, after all, this is exactly what Donald Trump ran on as well. He said he was going to fix the prices, and yet prices remain quite high. There's a real affordability crisis in this country. He said he was going to run on a peace ticket, that he was going to be the peace president, and yet he has started countless wars and only continues to leave the world in a state of disarray. A lot of people are very frustrated by that. It's not just the Democrats either. There are a lot of independents who are frustrated by this too, and there are a lot of Republicans who are frustrated by this too. And I think it's fine for DC to be bubbled in and to be completely out of step with the needs of the masses, at least for the time being, because this is a real opportunity for campaigns such as this one, such as Abdul's, such as Melak Kiros, Chris Rabb, many people who are here right now, Donovan McKinney, who's running tomorrow as well in the primary, to really shine, to show that there is an alternative perspective out there, one that centers the needs of the working class rather than corporate interests, because for far too long that's been the only game in town. But we're coming.
Are there parallels with...
Honestly, this is one of his best media performances. This is really, really good. He's sort of sticking on script. He's not like flailing wildly or swearing or, you know, being boisterous. He's just making the case and stating it plainly. He's doing really good politics. This is excellent.
With how the working classes are feeling in Britain, but they're turning to the populist right and not the left. Why do you think that is?
That is an exact parallel that I warned about when Keir Starmer won his...
By the way, that isn't even fucking true. That isn't true at all, right? Most working class people in these, disaffected areas have either turned to the Green Party or were not going to vote and are now sort of drifting back to Andy Burnham's Labour Party because they've been a bit more progressive, at least in messaging so far. But they're not turning to the populist right. That's basically disgruntled conservatives and fascists who are turning to them.
Race. That was my biggest warning to the British fans that I have, that if Keir Starmer does not...
All I'll say, Hassan, be careful. Because if you keep doing good politics like this, you'll get shot. By totally not the CIA or FBI or police. Totally not. It'll be just crazy whack job. It's interesting, when the assassins want to kill a left-wing figure, they've got very good aim, haven't they?
Not overturn years and years of Tory-backed austerity measures, that the populist right was going to continue growing and become a force that the left, the institutional left, could not even fight back against. And I'm afraid that's exactly where we're at. However, at least with the Green Party, there is a little bit of excitement where the base can turn to a functional party that will represent their needs, that will represent a significant significant pushback against the growth of fascism in the UK, whether it be reform or even restore Britain, including restore Britain and its unholy allegiance with the likes of Elon Musk.
True.
Of course, no problem.
See, and an American who kind of gets some British politics. That's kind of cool. It's a rarity. Yeah, like Hassan needs to look after his fucking safety, because there's only so many times you can be an erudite leftist in America before certain powers find you inconvenient. Anyway, what you will have noticed on his head was a cap that read the Democratic Socialists of America. And so, it leads us on to a discussion between Jon Stewart and Senator Strokey McStrokeface of Pennsylvania about the DSA and Israel and that. Yeah. This is yeah.
So what really matters is the votes and what's behind that. And what's really set me apart of most of the Democratic Party is Israel. And that's fair. It criticized John Fetterman on Israel without a doubt. 100%. So that's been primarily, and that's been driving our party.
So for you, you could agree with them 90%, but Israel is the red line.
Absolutely. It is.
So are you the senator for Pennsylvania or Israel? Why is a foreign country the red line?
Israel for me. Like I can't ever turn my back to Israel after where it's at.
So, and I mean no disrespect on this, but that is not our country. You're saying that...
No, it's the country he governs on behalf of. Yeah.
These candidates may have great ideas for our economy. They may want to do the exact same thing you want to do in terms of getting money out of politics. They may want to increase the social safety net. They may want to change the balance of power from capital back to labor. But if they don't agree with you on Israel, you don't want them in your party.
Well, I don't know who you're referencing to specifically.
No, I'm referencing what you just said.
Name one. Latner?
So in other words, Syed or AOC or Bernie Sanders, I assume you agree with a lot of what they say economically.
And what I'm saying is, like, if you are a DSA member, if you are a member of a specific political party, run under your own banner. And now, I think Bill Maher said something very insightful. He said, you know, the DSA are colonizing the Democratic Party.
Oh, it'd be really bad if someone was colonizing other people's land, wouldn't it, John? It would be awful. Say if someone was forcibly, by at the point of a gun, taking other people's territory. That would be terrible. You'd call that out, wouldn't you, John? If people were just taking other people's houses. John? No? Okay. As if a fucking Zionist, an ultra uber duber Zionist, is going to have a go at someone else for colonising anything. Shut the front door.
So just be Democrats if you're going to run under the Democratic Party for that. Why have a DSA party for overall? So run on that, and you all understand.
It's just an organization. It's not, we have a two-party system. We don't, it's like the Freedom Caucus in the Republican Party. There are, you know, there's Randy Fine and Ogles and all these nutbags that are also part of an area, and Republicans, I'm sure, may not agree with all of them on all kinds of things, but there is no other party.
Well,
I guess you could try it, but my point is,
and you get accused of splitting the vote and letting Republicans in. So instead you have to vote for fucking John Fetterman. Ugh. No, thank you.
if you don't disagree with them on a lot of things, why not use some of that energy? And even like Mamdani in New York is...
Yeah, it is funny that he put on a suit. He won't put on a suit for the US Congress or for anything formal, but he will for a Jon Stewart interview. he'll put on a fucking suit for Jon Stewart, but not like, you know, voting on things in the Congress or anything. No, that's bad.
DSA, but there are things in the DSA platform that he disagrees with. And I'm assuming there's probably things in the Democratic platform that you might disagree with, but you don't disavow the entire thing. You're literally saying we can all have discussions, except when it comes to Israel, which is not America. It seems like a weird line to draw.
Well, I don't think that's weird. I think I think what history demonstrates is that when people or a government or people turn their back to the Jewish community, things end really badly.
Whoa! Who said the Jewish community, my man? Seems like you've just conflated the state of Israel with all Jewish people, which I was told was anti-Semitism when Jeremy Corbyn was the one quibbling about that particular distinction.
And it's a dangerous...
Jewish community and Israel are not the same thing, brother man. They're not, that is not the same thing.
No. It's like, hey, it's like if I have to pick a side for after 10/7 and after Iran, you know, I'm always going to stand with Israel. I'm always going to vote and support whatever that's necessary to protect themselves and to prosecute Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran too. And the very left.
And all of the rapes they've been doing, and the shooting children in the chest. All of that stuff. That's super cool. Yeah.
Left never said a peep after Iran executed 30 to 40,000 young people in there just for protesting for democracy.
40 to 50. That number gets bigger every time, doesn't it? Why am I getting Black Book of Communism vibes from that? Why am I getting like making numbers up vibes from it? Oh yeah, it's because they're making up numbers. Yeah.
You think that the left is pro Iran, not the country, but the regime?
What I'm saying though is like, if anyone in the Democratic Party is fine with Iran building a nuclear bomb, I disagree with.
Which they're not. What the fuck are you talking about, you daft cunt?
With that person.
I think most people are. Again, I think you're caricaturing the issue. But I want to. Is there anything you would criticize Israel about?
No. What I would say.
Just so, what's the point in your existence? Like, what is the point? What's the point in talking to you? What is the point of anything? Is there anything you would criticize them about? No. Then you're not even a fucking politician. You're just a mouthpiece of a foreign government. You should have to actually register as a foreign agent at this point, I think.
Is that I have not a single Democrat that's willing to go on record saying, I'm cool, it's okay if Iran builds a nuclear bomb. And I supported last summer bombing the Iranian nuclear facilities. I think that was a necessary and important thing.
Did you support the bombing of that school full of children? Did you support that, John? Because you just said you won't criticize Israel for anything, so presumably you're not going to condemn that, right?
Because Iran is becoming close to building a nuclear bomb, and that would...
Is it? Because Benjamin Netanyahu's been saying that for like 40 fucking years, mate. So I don't know how close they are exactly.
I think the case was not made by this administration that Iran was close. Netanyahu's been claiming they're 2 weeks away for the last 20 years. But my point is, so would you say everything Israel is doing is for their own self-defense?
Just destroying its enemies, yeah, that is. Destroying its enemies.
Or flattening a tiny area and pushing 2 million people into 30 to 35 to 40% of that territory and having a siege of that area. Is that in their self-defense?
No, what I'm saying, it's like people forget that Hamas were just rapists and they were terrorizing.
What about the Israeli government letting off all those Israeli rapists? Because they were on camera raping someone, and the Israeli government let them off completely. So the IDF are literally rapists, John.
And killing civilians, and then they stole 250 people from their families, and they kept them underground and brutalized them and raped them and starved them for over 2 years. And that's why they refused to give them back, and that's what forced Israel to engage in that Gaza war when they refused to.
They didn't refuse, did they? They offered a deal where you could have gotten them all back. But Benjamin Netanyahu didn't want that deal, did he?
Send their people.
And there is nothing...
This is why I say Zionism is a hell of a drug, because it can make you completely misremember everything. Well, he makes you lie, basically.
Prosecution of that war that gives you pause.
What do you mean?
The killing of tens of thousands of children.
Absolutely awful. Absolutely. Because Hamas has embedded themselves, behind these people and using the Palestinians as human shields.
Jesus Christ. Was he like this before the stroke? I don't remember this before the stroke. I really don't. This is like, he's got every single Hasbro talking point. He's like a Hasbro Mad Lib.
Sinwar described the death of innocent Palestinians as a necessary sacrifice. That's how Hamas has designed that.
There are people in Netanyahu's cabinet who have said they would like to nuke the Palestinians. Not Hamas, the Palestinians. I guess what I'm trying to get at is, I don't understand why we can't criticize even someone that you think is an ally for actions that we deem to be morally reprehensible. Like, I don't understand how you can defend the settlements in the West Bank. Like, I don't understand how you have no criticisms over their actions, over their increasingly messianic, ultra right-wing government that seems to think relentless war is that you can bomb people out of resistance. Have you ever seen a movie called Gatekeepers? It's people that have been...
255 asks, do you think people going on and around about his stroke is just people giving themselves a pass for supporting me in the first place? Maybe, but like, I didn't support him as such, other than I just didn't want Dr. Oz to get in. But I didn't really know enough about this guy particularly. But yeah, maybe for some people it is. For me, it's just kind of crazy that he's even still in Congress at all, to be honest. Or in the Senate, whatever.
Been in Shin Bet and ran the army in Israel. And they're talking about how the strategy that Israel has of disproportionate retaliation, even though they are by far the most powerful force in that region, is not a path to keep Israel safe. Hey, everybody, obviously it's a podcast, so...
Okay, I'm not doing adverts, fuck off.
I'm saying is that Israel was entirely open to a two-state solution. They were offered a two-state solution. I actually got a chance to talk to former President Clinton about that.
Oh, the other rapist. Oh, okay, cool. I got to talk to a fucking Zionist nonce. Not that Zionist nonce. No, not that Zionist nonce. No, not that Zionist. The other the other one. No, the other Zionist nonce. Yeah, that one. Yeah. About this, and so he told me the truth, honest, that he did not have sexual relations with that child, so it's fine.
And reminds the people that they were offered 96% of the West Bank, and they get to pick 4%, for part of Israel, and they had East Jerusalem as the capital, and they would have had their entire nation, and now going on.
This is a lie, by the way, just in case you were wondering.
26 years. Now, they reject that. They did not want a two-state solution. They have a one-state solution, and that's from the river to the sea. And
Kieran Kinsella, will you chill out? Just tell me, because I don't have the thing on. This message has the same total value as John Fetterman's suit. I'm not sure that's true, Kieran, but thank you. I don't purposefully ignore it. Not only do I love you back, I love you back from afar. I watch you out of the window and masturbate. Is that better? Do you prefer that?
that's part of why anti-Semitism is run amok in our college campuses.
He's just a Fox News host. He's literally just a Fox News host. Just tell a lie and then go off on a crazy tangent about college campuses. That's literally it. What next? Talk about the urbans. Talk about the problem of urban gun culture. Talk about violent rap lyrics, John.
And in the streets, and now they're protesters showing up in my office at my home and following me and screaming and calling about and claiming about genocide. And now it's not a genocide. And if there was a...
It is a genocide.
Genocide. That's because Iran refuses to relinquish this idea that they can destroy Israel.
Hang on. Whoa. If there is a so, John, you're just admitting there, it doesn't matter to you whether there is or is not a genocide taking place. Because as long as Iran, a completely different country, has supposedly 10 minutes away from building a nuclear bomb, apparently, that means that Israel are justified in genociding people. Like, literally, listen to this again.
And now it's not a genocide. And if there was a genocide, that's because Iran refuses to relinquish this idea that they can destroy Israel.
So even if he considered it to be a genocide, it would still be okay because Iran. So he's just he literally is just pro-genocide. It does not matter what Israel does. This sick, twisted cunt will still support them. Yeah. Don't forget this started when Biden was president. True, which is why I laughed at him getting cancer in his bones earlier. Yep.
Now live in peace, and now live your lives, and stop funneling billions into the Hezbollah and Hamas trying to destroy Israel. That's the honest and the dynamic in the region. And now there will be a democratic election in Israel in October. Will Netanyahu win or not overall? But that's the true only democracy in the entire region. So it's...
Yeah, the democracy where there are two strands of citizen. Jewish and not Jewish. Some have rights, others have fewer rights.
It's like I've never said that Israel is perfect. What I'm saying, though, that's our...
Well, you're not saying Israel is perfect, but you're literally not prepared to criticize them in any way. So you are acting as if you think they are perfect. Kieran, I'm good at this. Shush. Otherwise you will feel the wrath, my pugilistic wrath upon you, sir. Didn't Israel put millions into Hamas getting into power, though? Yes, indeed, in order to split the Palestinian Authority. There you go.
Special ally. And now, until we're admittedly at war, I'm going to stand with our special ally.
The special ally that's giving you all that money, John. Yeah. Would Dr. Oz actually have been that much worse? Can anyone tell me? Would Dr. Oz actually have been worse than this guy? Because I'm genuinely not sure anymore. At least Dr. Oz didn't want to put you to sleep with his talk of genocide. At least he made genocide sound interesting. This guy's putting me to fucking sleep. Well, he's putting half of his own face to sleep, but that's a different matter entirely.
And describe the circumstances with Hamas or Hezbollah or the way Iran continues to behave.
No one's saying it's not a dangerous neighborhood, but I think the behavior of that government is worth more than, and as their not just special neighbor and ally, we're the ones who fund a great deal of it. Israel has made, in the way that they've sort of indirectly funded Hamas, it very difficult for moderates. We're getting into a whole thing here, but I think you believe Netanyahu and his government are operating in good faith, that they really want a peace deal, and I'm saying they're not. Netanyahu's been very clear that he doesn't want a two-state solution. He said it. He said it's not going to happen. There will be no two-state solution. And yet they say that they're a democratic state. But demographics there would say they can't be a true democracy because they'd be worried about that diluting what they consider to be their Jewish state. Now, that's a whole other argument of whether states should be this or that. But the point being...
And you can't even get into that discussion. Like, this is the thing. the core of the problem is that it's an ethno-nationalist state to begin with. But you can't even get into that discussion because you have to argue through a genocide. There's so much shit before you even get down to the core that actually it's bad that states have an ethnic supremacist ideology behind it. Like that's really fucking terrible. That's like some Nazi shit. But you can't even get to that part of the discussion because you're having to talk around genocide and all this shit. Because people are even denying the genocide that we can all see with our fucking eyes. Evil cunts.
That when we went to war in Iraq, or we went to war in Afghanistan, I criticized America for the way that they were prosecuting that war and the cavalier way in which we were...
You did, and I think people hopefully will remember Jon Stewart as that guy, right? As the guy that was one of the few bulwarks of genuine like criticism, albeit criticism through comedy, but criticism of the Bush regime, even during the height of 9/11 fever. Because he was actually, in his own weird little way, a genuinely quite an important cultural figure in American history. Like, not necessarily one of the great figures like Lincoln or some shit, but like an important contributor to the American national dialogue. One of the few voices in the wilderness saying, actually, this is really bad. What's happening here is fucking terrible. Maybe we should not do that. So that's kind of cool in its own way. I mean, he's a lib, obviously, but he's one of the better libs that's ever happened, I think. I think we can say that much at least.
Wasting American treasure and American lives. That doesn't make me pro-Al-Qaeda. In the same way that if you criticize Israel for devastating an enormous group of people because of Hamas, not Palestinians, Hamas, they are not the same. Jews are not the same as Israel.
They are the government that the Hamas, the Palestinian people, have elected.
They elected them in
20 fucking years ago, you cunt.
What is it, 2008, and there hasn't been an election since, and it was a desperate people in a siege situation.
Yeah, because they elected a murderous, system.
Sharon.
Okay, and what about the several decades of murderous regimes that the Israeli people have elected? Does that mean that we should be able to genocide them, John? No, obviously not.
Pulled out the settlements from Gaza, and then you had a double-blind study. Was Israel going to help the moderates, or was it going to empower the extremists? And Israel's actions during that time empowered the extremists and undercut the moderates. And they've done that over and over and over again. Look, you can say that the Palestinians are trying to kill the Jews, right? But it's, let's say it's Hamas or Hezbollah or whatever it is, or Iran. Jewish settlers are killing Palestinians. And when they asked Netanyahu about it, he said, well, it's just like 100 to 150 juvenile delinquents, and we can't quite get a handle on it. Meaning, Israel wasn't able to control this small element that was killing people. Does that mean that the international community should say, you don't deserve a state because you don't have total control of the violent elements in your midst? But that's what they're saying. Why?
But also, it's not even just a few delinquents. It's organised bands of people, like burning out farmers and stuff, and like stealing land. Being armed, by the way, we know they've been armed by members of the IDF as well. Just saying.
Why does Israel get to decide?
Well, the defining question is, does Israel engage in a genocide?
Yes.
In Palestine? Well, according to the people that define those things, yes.
Okay, well, and I strongly disagree with that by...
Okay, noted intellectual and genocide scholar John Strokey McStrokeface Fetterman, DPA, has decided, and the millions of dollars he's gotten from AIPAC are irrelevant to this, I'm sure. Fucking Christ almighty. I don't know how much more I can take of this. It's fucking awful.
By definition, that wasn't a genocide. The Jewish community actually experienced a true genocide for that. Now, if Israel...
I believe he's talking about the Holocaust there, and that is certainly true that Jewish people have suffered the Holocaust. But certain people who definitely did not are still using it as such.
For me.
I'm a Holocaust survivor.
And supporter.
Holocaust survivor.
And you're continuing the Holocaust.
I'm a Holocaust survivor.
For me.
I'm a Holocaust survivor.
I'm a Holocaust survivor, says this 30-year-old woman. Honestly, you're so young. Your grandparents might just about have been Holocaust survivors. But realistically, your great-grandparents would have to have been Holocaust survivors. You were definitely not around 90 fucking years ago. You prick. Again, it's the crybully. It's the crybully shit, isn't it? I'm a Holocaust survivor. No, you're a wanker who's using the Holocaust to try and win a political argument, you sick bastard.
Israel's goal was to eliminate, as many Palestinians as possible. They could have accomplished that in a lot long time ago for that. They were not engaging in a genocide.
Just because you're killing a group slowly doesn't mean you're not killing a group. Just because you could do it faster.
No. That was the terrible the collateral, of an urban war that forced Israel to fight behind because Hamas was holding their hostages and refused to disarm and send our people back home.
I think they've killed like 12.
Our people, John. Time out. Our people. Does this man know he's a senator in America? Is this man aware that he is paid for by the American taxpayer to serve the interest of the American people? Because he just said our people when referring to Israeli hostages. What nation are you actually serving, John? What nation are you serving? Do you know anymore? Thank you, Al Rakabi with Bitty Bits. Thank you, Big Zebra, for subscribing with Prime. We're on Hype Train, everyone. If we get to the next level of the Hype Train, I will finger John Vetterman's brain because it is fucking dead. Jesus Christ, you can help us out with that in bitties and fucking subscriptions and all that shite. What is this? Mr. Streamy takes sponsors. Ha! Chat. Get all your Blue Apron mattress boxes from an unbiased better help therapist on Ground News. That is a compound one. You should have 3. You've got 3 badges. There you go. You've got 3 badges. Also, where's Raytheon? Raytheon have been long proud sponsors of this stream. Killing brown kids with a smile. Ding. I should have a fake QR code and put it on the screen. Is World of Tanks still a thing? Do they still do those? I don't know.
$100 Palestinians since the ceasefire.
Yeah, I mean, most of them were killing Hamas leadership, and I think that's necessary. When you have people...
How many fucking Hamas leadership does he think there are? Genuinely, how many people does he think are in the Hamas leadership? Tens of thousands. Honestly, those Central Committee meetings must have taken a while. Just doing the roll call. Fucking hell. Are the tens of thousands of Hamas in the room with us now, John? Can you see them? Are they telling you to burn things again? Hang on. Did you... Is that a glitch? Is that a glitch on the YouTube? Because it's telling me that Antifa Vegan Boy gave 3 lots of 10 gifties. Did you give 30 gifties? I mean, it doesn't. Thank you for 10 if it's 1, but whatever. That's awesome. Thank you. But it's telling me you've got 3 lots of 10, and I don't understand what that means. Now they just call out Mohammed and 5,000 said here. To be fair, if you go into a room full of people from that region of the world, Mohammed is a very popular first name. You could get through a lot of the thing. Like if you went into this particular Zoom call and said John, both hands would go up, you know? So...
people that were responsible for organizing 10-7, and I was like, I think it's entirely appropriate to eliminate them.
I think eliminating the people who organized 10-7 is entirely appropriate. That is
Can Americans not do things that aren't fucking... that aren't like numbers? September the 11th becomes 9/11. October 7th becomes 10-7. See you later, Mr. Satnav. Thanks for stopping by, my man.
absolutely correct. But in the same way that if we had gone into Afghanistan and just flattened it, the American people would have been outraged that we had no discernment, that we couldn't tell the difference. The issue here is dehumanization. Whether you're dehumanizing Jews and relating them to Israel, when you dehumanize a group, when you're unable to discern the difference between the worst of the worst, the same way we're doing with our immigration policy, it all ties together through Middle East policy. If we allow dehumanization in any form, then we are complicit in the results of those dehumanizing actions. And by being unable to tell the difference between a democratic socialist and a social democrat and a Hamas supporter and a communist and a Zionist and a Jew and Netanyahu and an actor in good faith, we lose the ability to solve the problems that we're facing.
It's definitely glitched out to fuck us. It's now telling me that you've given 40. So I don't know what's going on with that, Antifa Vegan, but I do hope your account isn't actually being charged for that many fucking things or whatever. Yeah, something's gone a bit fucking weird there. I assure you this isn't some sort of like scheme on my part. Thank you, NYC guys. It's how can we primary Fetterman? I have absolutely no idea how we can primary Fetterman. I don't understand how that works. I'm not going to pretend that I do. Primary him with a stick? I don't know. By the way, that is not a call to violence against the sitting senator. Thank you, Marcus Drake. By the way, we're going to have Marcus on, Christy and I, to talk about stuff soon. Fun fact, I met him before the stroke and we had friends/acquaintances in common. He's always been a cunt, at least as a person. He's basically by the entire state Democrat Party compared to Governor Josh Shapiro, who's beloved, so it's not being a Zionist, it's just him apparently describes himself as a loner, presumably as a cope. So apparently the stroke didn't really change anything. Okay. Apparently he was always just a bit of a twat. As you do. It was just 10, but I think you did miss my last 2 sets of donos from the other stream because I did them last minute. Well, I don't know what's happened there. Thank you for your generosity in whatever amount it actually was. We will never know, and that's fine.
because we are caricaturing and dehumanizing.
John, is it a fair question here? Has become the term Zionist, that's become a slur, on the Democratic side.
Yeah, it should be. It's a fucking bad thing. Yeah. It's akin to you're a Nazi. If you are a Zionist, you believe ethnic supremacism and ethno-nationalism is fine. It should be a slur. It should be an insult. I mean it as that. You have made it into that. I intend it as that.
Someone refers to you're a Zio or you're a Zionist, that's become essentially a slur for people to say that thing. And that's part of where the party has lost its way in there. If you're describing people that I'm very supportive of a Jewish state, and they've weaponized that against people.
I think if they believe that Jewish state is acting in a manner...
Well, I don't even care how it's acting. Just to say, I don't agree with a Jewish state. I don't agree with a Christian state, or a Muslim state, or a Hindu state. I think ethno-nationalism is a terrible thing. Have you ever heard Zio? I've heard Zio as a prefix, so like, I don't know, like Zio-fascist or something, like to specifically designate them as a Zionist who is a fascist rather than a generic fascist or something. The Vatican should also be abolished. Well, that is true, but yeah.
That is overly violent and dehumanizing and constantly at war in a region, that's where that's coming from.
Or it's like if Hamas refuses to disarm and they refuse to send their people back home, I mean, then still right now, they've never been willing to just disarm and now start the process. That made them viable targets. And I support Israel eliminating people that were part of planning 10-7.
I think most people support people eliminating those who supported 10-7, but will Israel disarm the settlers? I mean, they've given them weapons, and those weapons are being used to kill.
There are moving parts, but what makes it impossible right now because Hamas and Iran and
No, Hamas is not operating in the West Bank. Like, that's got nothing to do with it. We're talking about settlers. So in the West Bank, the Israeli government has armed settlers to steal people's land. That's got nothing to do with Hamas. Why are you mentioning Hamas?
Hezbollah refused to say, look, we've lost, and now we have to find a better way to rebuild our society. And I'd remind people that Iran eliminated and just killed in their streets and just killed tens of thousands of its own young people.
Yes, awful.
They're hanging, teenagers for just asking for democracy too. I don't see the kind of college protest outrage and saying how Iran has done and they continue.
Right, but there's a difference there, isn't there, John? Because the American government are not supportive of the Iranian regime. So what the fuck are you protesting there? Because when you protest against Israel, you're not just saying, oh, Israel are doing a bad thing. You're calling for your government to do something about it. You are saying to, in the case of American college kids, they're saying to the American government, could you stop arming this evil thing? Could you make them stop doing the genocide, please? The American government has no sway on the Iranian government because they're not friends and allies. They're not being funded by America. So what exactly are you asking the American government to do about that? That's the difference, you stupid bastard.
Because they don't consider Iran an ally. They don't give money to Iran. We don't give billions of dollars a year to Iran. We sanction them. We try to do various things to remove scorn them. We try and create the situation to undermine that regime. But what we haven't learned is that 40 and 50 years of endless wars don't get us the peaceful results that we are searching for. They don't make it that the...
Are they? This is the thing, John. You, as a person, this is John Stewart now. John Stewart, you may be searching for a peaceful solution. Lots of other people, good people, are searching for a peaceful solution. I want a peaceful solution. The American establishment doesn't want a peaceful solution. It took the book 1984 by George Orwell as a blueprint in many respects. In the war is not meant to be won. It doesn't matter who you're fighting, whether it be Eurasia or East Asia. The war is never supposed to be won. It is supposed to be ever going, eternal, a rolling, never-ending war. It doesn't matter where it's happening, it just has to be happening. John Fetterman doesn't give two fucks for a peaceful solution. He's already said that. He's literally already given his justification for a genocide. He's not interested in peace either. And on that note, shall we go to... I mean, he's based as fuck in many respects. Although not in all respects, unfortunately. But he's also arguably the most boring speaker you will hear today. Not even Piers Morgan. I'm talking about...
Joining me to debate this is author and political scientist Norman Finkelstein.
Hey! So we're going to have to go 1.5. Because Norm Finkelstein is a very deliberate speaker, shall we say. He's not a person who goes through his sentences with great haste, shall we say.
And historian and Professor Benny Morris. Well, welcome to both of you. And Norman Finkelstein, welcome back to Uncensored. This whole issue of what is going on the West Bank. You know, I've had Daniela Weiss saying that this is merely a case of Jewish people reclaiming their land, nothing to see here, nothing criminal, they're not doing harm to anybody. But we just heard obviously from a Palestinian Christian pastor who says the complete opposite, and certainly from the news footage we've seen, it's quite clear that Israeli settlers have been waging a campaign of terror on the West Bank now for a considerable period of time, which most of the international community views as criminal activity. What is your view of what is happening on the West Bank?
My view on what's happening in the West Bank is basically this, that the explosion of the population in the West Bank and in Gaza is deeply rooted in Zionist ideology. As Benny Morris himself wrote, the idea of transfer, which is just a euphemism for expulsion, the idea of transfer is inherent and inbuilt in the idea of Zionism.
And transfer is just another way of saying ethnic cleansing. That's what that is.
And as Benny Morris himself said, the problem with the Israelis, or the problem with Ben-Gurion, David Ben-Gurion, Israel's first prime minister, the problem with him was that, quote, he didn't complete the job. That's what Mr. Morris said. And also, Mr. Morris has written that that's a tiny spot of land, and there's no room, I'm quoting him, there's no room for two peoples in that land, and that there should be only one people there, one state, a Jewish state. So all of...
Turn it up, you slag. Thank you, 255. God bless you.
That is not new, but as
Clem H. Fandango got spicy.
Your previous guest stated, there has been an escalation since October 7th. And that was pretty predictable.
No, since 10/7, that's the way we have to say it now, because Americans are fucking idiots.
But as you know, the cliche, every crisis is also an opportunity. And the Israeli cabinet, not unlike, by the way, my own American government after 9/11, they shed some salty tears. Here I refer both to my government and the Israeli government. They shed some salty tears after the massacres and then rubbed their palms in glee. Here is an opportunity. In the case of my own government, the opportunity was first Afghanistan, then they thought Iraq, then they thought Syria, then they thought Iran. That was their plan, to exploit to the maximum 9/11. In the same way, Israel, since October 7th, yes, the salty tears were shed, and then they rubbed their palms in glee. Here is a unique opportunity. And the unique opportunity was first to solve the Gaza question once and for all, and the way they wanted to solve it was a massive expulsion. The means to achieve that massive expulsion was genocidal, and then they proceeded to eliminate Hezbollah, or they thought they eliminated Hezbollah, and now they're trying also in the West Bank. And of course, the big target was Iran. And there too, Benny Morris, for years, literally every couple of years, he would write an op-ed saying two things. Number one, Israel has to attack Iran. And number two, if the United States doesn't join in, Israel has no option except to use non-conventional, i.e. nuclear weapons. So the
nuclear weapons that it doesn't have, honest, wink, wink.
The presumptions of Daniela Weiss are shared.
Hang on, have I still got that? I think I've still got the thing. Have I? Oh no, that's $5 a month. $5! $5! No, it's not that one though. Oh no, I got rid of it. Okay, no. I used to have the text that said Israel has nuclear weapons or whatever. Piers Morgan looks old. That's because he is old. He's got to be in his 60s now, hasn't he, Piers? Well into his 60s, I would think. He's only 61. But that's still old. That's not young, is it?
Across the Israeli spectrum.
Also, it looks a little bit like he might have been on the Zemp. Just a smidge. He's just had a little tickle on the Zemp.
First described the Palestinians as, quote, a sick, psychotic people, quoting him. So the presumptions, the assumptions of Daniela Weiss, they may sound radical to an American viewer, but they are typical of Israeli society, from Daniela Weiss at one end of the spectrum to Benny Morris, who was once Israel's leading historian, at the other end of the spectrum. Just one last word. If you look at the current UN report on the deliberate killing of Palestinian children, they describe
thank you, Big Zebra. We're all aware what happened. We were told about titty football. We're all very aware. Thank you.
many scenes of the settlers. A group of settlers urinating on a child. A group of settlers kidnapping a 4- and 5-year-old child, brother and sister, and tying them to a tree. A bunch of Israeli soldiers, not settlers, soldiers, attacking a 16-year-old who is hearing impaired and kicking him on the ground. And then a group of soldiers attacking a fellow, shooting him. He's on the ground pleading for help. The soldiers stand around laughing, filming the scene, and blocking any medical aid for him. The soldiers, remember, Israel is a citizen army. The soldiers are representative of Israeli society, just like Daniela Weiss at one end of the spectrum and Benny Morris at the other end is representative.
Oh, you got it mixed up with the London bar. Oh, that was 5-5. Remember, Americans tried to make it 5. No, the 5th of May. Thank you. I know at least when it's the same number, the fact that Americans get the numbers the wrong way round doesn't matter, but no, we'll say the date. Thank you very much.
Representative of Israeli society. It is unfortunately.
Oh, sorry, 7-7, not 5-5. What am I talking about? Yeah.
It has become a nation of child killers.
Benny Morris, your response?
It has become a nation of baby killers. Yeah. Because this is the thing. It's not just the Israeli government, unfortunately. Huge numbers of the Israeli population have been so embedded into Zionist ways of thinking that they're absolutely in favour of the genocide. Even the ones that seem on the face of it a bit based or whatever, and they're like, oh, they're out there protesting for Benjamin Netanyahu to go. Many of those people aren't doing that for good reason. They're not doing it because he's a genocidal lunatic. They're not even doing it necessarily because he's a corrupt genocidal lunatic. They're doing it because he hasn't gotten their family members home and hasn't killed more effectively. At least in part. One would assume that it's part of the mandatory military service. Yeah, but again, I've been through this. It's tough shit, I suppose, in some respects, that you're put in a situation as an Israeli citizen that you have to do national service. Except you don't. You can tear up that draft paper, and you have to take the consequences, which are either leave the fucking country as quick as you can, or go to jail. But that is the only ethical choice you have. If you join the IDF, you know exactly the organisation you are joining. What it is capable of, what it is currently engaged in, and what it is more than prepared to do.
Response to that?
Well, it sounds like a self-hating Jew, Norman Finkelstein, and the woman, Daniela Weiss, is obviously...
Honestly, Zionists have got so lazy in recent times. They've gotten so... It used to be they'd give you a little bit of foreplay. It used to be that they'd butter you up a little bit. They'd start off with a generic, like, a generic few sentences to warm you up, and then they'd hit you with self-hating Jew, or then they'd hit you with terrorist, or then they'd hit you with anti-Semite. Now it's just like, no, self-hating Jew. He's a self-hating Jew. Fuck it. I don't need to try anymore. They're like animals that exist without natural predators that become like fat and useless. The dodo, for instance. Like, the animals that don't have a natural predator have no reason to stay sharp. And because the Americans and the British and basically every Western government has given Israel everything it could possibly have wanted, Zionists just, they don't need to bother. They don't need to bother sharpening their arguments or putting any effort into it. They just go out there, yeah, you're an anti-Semite. Or that 30-year-old, I survived the Holocaust. Like, just crazy shit. It doesn't matter anymore. Brummy rats take note, exactly. Honestly, they're becoming fat as well. That's mainly because of all the takeaways that are in the rubbish, though, I think. But
obviously a religious messianic fanatic. I don't think either of them should represent anyone, and they certainly don't speak the truth about most Israelis, as Finkelstein would have it. The Israeli settlers in the West Bank, many of them, are behaving illegally, and the government is going along with them and protecting them in various ways, certainly not prosecuting them for committing these crimes more or less on a daily basis in the West Bank, because they ultimately support eventual annexation of the West Bank, and they believe that removing small communities of shepherds serves that purpose, this annexationist purpose. And I, of course, and I think at least half of the Israelis don't agree with this. It doesn't represent it.
Well, again, you say that, but actually, when you look at the voting patterns of Israeli government, of Israeli elections, it's not backed up, is it? Unfortunately. It's not backed up at all. Do you have time to give us an update on the rats? Okay, well, the bin strike is basically over at this point. There's still like a backlog, and there are problems with it, and there's all kinds of crazy shit going on. But it's a lot better than it was. There aren't the massive piles of fucking rubbish everywhere. They've done several like bulk collection sites across the city to sort of get back onto a sort of level playing field or whatever. So yeah. The rat problem seems to have gone, largely, or at least gone down to what it was before. There've always been rats. There have never not been rats. He looks like my mum. Honestly, he looks a little bit like my nan. She died fucking 25 years ago, but actually way more than that, about 30 years ago now. Yeah, but he does look like a lovely old nana. Have you had your tea, dear? Yeah, we'll rustle you up a salad or something if you want. Yeah.
The Israeli public, as Ms. Weiss, who's, as I say, a fanatic, doesn't as well. I did use the phrase psychotic, and the Palestinians certainly behaved in a psychotic way during the second Intifada when they exploded bombs in buses and in streets and killed over 1,000 Israelis during that second Intifada, that rebellion in 2001, 2002, 2003. But I wouldn't call the Palestinians in general psychotic, but they have behaved very poorly. They're very poorly led. They're divided between one fanatical movement, which is misogynist, the Hamas, misogynist, homosexual, anti-homosexual, homophobic, Jew-hating, they're anti-Semitic, and they hate the West in general, much like the rest of the Islamic Islamist world. And here we have a problem which...
the Islamist world? I mean, okay, I don't know that English is necessarily his first language, but did he mean Islamic world, or did he mean Islamist world? Because that's like a really important distinction. And given that he's talking about them being psychotic, I'm not prepared to give him the benefit of the doubt, in all honesty. Unfortunately, my nana would also probably have defended genocide like Benny Mons. Probably. I mean, I don't know her, but a lot of older people probably would, yeah. But they will also bake you a fucking sick chocolate cake. So, you know, swings and roundabouts is all I'm saying.
Finkelstein doesn't seem to understand that the war in Gaza was the first step in an Islamist, pan-Islamic war against the Jewish state, dedicated to eradicating the Jewish state. The Hamas began on the October...
Again, the Jewish state, like that's a normal thing. That's just a normal thing that he gets to just say, unchallenged. No one's going to stop him and go, whoa, what do you mean a fucking Jewish state? The fucking weird-ass supremacist shit is this? Fucking Jewish state. And again, just to clarify, I don't support any fucking ethno-religious states. I don't support an Islamic state. I don't support a Christian state, a Jewish state, a fucking Zoroastrian state, a white state, a black state, an anything state. Frankly, I'm not massively in favour of nation states to begin with. But if we're going to have them, they do have to at least be vaguely pluralistic. Otherwise, you can fuck off.
October 7th, the Hezbollah of Lebanon began the next day from Lebanon, and eventually the Houthis in Yemen and the Iranians from Iran itself all attacked successively the Jewish state. And Israel is surrounded by the Islamists who want to destroy the Jewish state. The Jewish state, Israel, doesn't say it wants to destroy the Islamic world or Iran or Lebanon.
No, it just wants to take over large chunks of that land that it doesn't have any right to whatsoever. So that's super cool, actually.
But this is the way it is, and Israel has basically been defending itself. I don't like the Israeli government. I don't like the way it defends Israel. It's done so incompetently. I don't believe, incidentally, in expulsion. I've never said that the country between the river and the sea belongs only to one people. That's not my position. There are two peoples there, both with claims to the land, and it should be ideally divided between the two peoples in two states. That's the ideal solution. The Palestinians have always rejected it. Today, the Israeli government also rejects it. But most Israelis and many Israeli governments and the Zionist movement since 1937 has always agreed to partition and to two states between the river and the sea. Unfortunately, the Palestinians have always said no to this.
Okay, Norman Finkelstein, I want to play you a clip. This is from the Hamas spokesman, Ghazi Hamad, who came on Uncensored on Monday. Made a lot of news. Let's take a look.
Hamas as liberation organization, we never commit crimes. We never kill civilians. We try all the time to liberate our home from the...
Okay, I didn't see this interview, but oh, that's whack. We have never committed crimes. Cool, yeah, no, awesome, yeah, I'm sure that's definitely true, mate, yeah. Anyone believe him? Does this single person in chat believe that that's true? I would hope not. I would hope I've taught you better than this. Also, why does it look like he's doing this from like one of those old school internet cafes? He's just in his office or whatever, but...
Well, that's complete nonsense, Mr. Hamad. Sorry, I have to interrupt there. When you say you don't commit crimes and you don't kill innocent civilians, we all saw what happened on October the 7th in 2023.
It's called 10-7, Piers. Get with the fucking programme.
3,000 members of your organisation, Hamas, pour over the Israeli border and commit a series of despicable crimes in which you massacred innocent civilians.
Well, Chloe, that's also wrong. He doesn't believe that's true either. He knows he's full of shit, but he knows he's talking to a Western audience, so he has to say the lie. But he doesn't believe that either. He knows damn well what that organisation has done. And it's done some fucking crazy evil shit. Like, I've said before that October 7th is not a justification for anything that happened after it. But that doesn't detract from the fact that what happened on October the 7th was fucking grotesque. Crimes were committed. Crimes against humanity were committed on that day. And yeah, the Israelis tried to big it up by inventing rapes and like fucking titty football and babies in ovens and all this fucking crazy weird shit. But the things that we know that did happen were fucking evil. You know?
All over Israel. You then captured over 250 of them, including Holocaust survivors and a baby. So the idea you've not committed crimes is ridiculous.
No, I say 100%. I'm confident that 100%. We never commit crimes against civilians. Maybe it's some mistake happened, but it's not the police of Hamas. It is not the
But there weren't mistakes. You gunned down innocent people.
Welcome to Utopia.
No, I do have to wonder whether Piers Morgan, because I haven't pre-watched this, whether Piers Morgan is going to ask Norman Finkelstein to condemn Hamas now? Like, is he supposed to what speak on behalf of Hamas? I don't know, man. That seems pretty. We'll see.
And Norman, I mean, it is plainly ridiculous for the Hamas spokesman to try and pretend they didn't commit any crimes on October the 7th. I presume you would agree that's ridiculous.
Yes, I've said on several occasions, and here I'll echo your previous speaker, Montier, I guess his name is. Is that correct, his name? I don't want to mispronounce it.
Munter, yeah, I'm not sure quite how the local pronunciation is, yeah.
Yeah, he said, when you quoted him from his sermon right after October 7th, he said he wasn't aware of the magnitude of what happened on October 7th. And as you know, I have said the same thing. But once it was clear the magnitude of what happened, it was clear that crimes of a significant magnitude, war crimes, I know some human rights organizations will also say crimes against humanity, so crimes of a significant magnitude occurred on October 7th. So there's, as far as I could tell, no disagreement between us. I would say, however...
But, of what relevance is that now? Anyone still using October the 7th as any justification is just a person who wants genocide to happen. There's no reason to ever fucking bring this shit up. It's not relevant to anything. It was 3 fucking years ago, lads. If you're still bringing it up now as a justification for you fucking murdering kids, you're a wrong un. You're an absolute fucking wrong un.
Some of the claims that were made about October 7th, for example, that Hamas had weaponized rape and sexual violence, I don't believe those claims have been borne out by the available evidence. If you allow me, Mr. Morris, you'll have your turn.
They weaponized rape.
You'll have your turn, Mr. Morris.
But
allow me to have mine.
Why are you lying? Why are you lying?
Okay, Mr. Pierce, you'll have to decide how to litigate at this point. Allow me my time. He will have his time. So as I said, there were crimes of a significant magnitude. Okay, thank you so much.
A Zionist will never, ever, ever allow the other person to just speak. Because the truth destroys Zionism. So it has to be silenced. It has to be spoken over. It has to be interrupted. It has to be frustrated. Every single time. Mark my words, chat. Every time you ever see one of these sort of debate things, the Zionist will always interrupt. Sometimes the anti-Zionist interrupts. That's absolutely true. That's sort of dependent on the individual. But the Zionist will always interrupt. Because they have to try and control the narrative. Because if people agree with reality and they get to hear reality unfettered, their arguments collapse. So they have to interject with bullshit constantly.
So on that point, there's no disagreement. The two issues, as I see it, between us, if you allow me, and you can, of course, disagree with me because I'm interpreting you, the two issues between us are, number one, the allocation of moral responsibility. I have said repeatedly that I refuse to condemn Hamas in the same way as my own country's abolition.
Oh no! He doesn't condemn the Hamas. No. That makes him the devil. The very slowly speaking devil.
Abolitionists, those who oppose slavery, they refuse to condemn the largest and bloodiest slave rebellion led by Nat Turner. On the contrary, they said, speaking to white society, they said, we warned you, we warned you, we warned you. If you treat people this way, if you dehumanize them, if you exploit them, if you kill them, don't be surprised if at some point there will be a bloody, and they acknowledged, ugly slave rebellion. That is also my position on Gaza. That's number one. The second place where I believe we disagree, and here I consider it a significant disagreement, just as the first one is significant, where we secondly disagree is on your terminology. You describe what Israel has done as being disproportionate. You describe what Israel has done as being over the top. Those are your expressions. But in fact, what Israel has done is very proportionate. It's proportionate to its goal. Its goal is to achieve an ethnic cleansing by use of genocidal means. If that's your means, then what Israel has executed is proportionate. It's not over the top. It would be over the top or disproportionate if it were a war, if you were trying to inflict a military defeat on the opposing army. But that's not what's happening in Gaza. That's not what's happened since October 8th. The prime minister was very straightforward. He said, remember Amalek, kill every man, woman, child, and other things. Or President Herzog, there are no civilians in Gaza.
Exactly. This isn't a war. It's butchery.
Or Defense Minister Gallant, we're going to prohibit all food, fuel, water, and electricity from entering Gaza.
But you heard Sir Keith say that Israel, she does have that right. You know? So it's fine actually, because he's a human rights lawyer. So, and his dad was a toolmaker, I'm reliably informed.
This is pure nonsense.
That's a formula.
Pure nonsense.
That's a formula for
Pure
genocide.
nonsense.
Okay.
Now,
Okay, let me ask you, Norman, let me ask you.
Last word.
Okay, but Norman, I want to ask you one last thing too. I just want to ask you, it struck me listening to Benny Morris, who will respond in a moment, it struck me in his first response to you, that he must have said a number of things in his response which you would, if you were being fair-minded, agree with. So what did you agree with him about in terms of his overview?
Well, here's the problem. Benny Morris, I'm speaking to him not as somebody who knows him personally, though we've met. Benny Morris wears many hats.
They did meet. You may remember they met whilst talking to noted sex pest, Mr. Botticelli, Mr. Bellini, Rapestany, if you will, Stephen Burnell III. Yes, on whatever particular debate thing that was. Epstein-y. That also works. Yeah. What is this, Marcus? What are you linking me to? Oh, here we go. Yeah, there we go.
Your name, please?
Stephen Bonnell.
Mr. Bonnell, I'm a lot more literate than you, Mr. Borelli.
I'm gonna believe Virgil.
Mr. Bonnell.
Literally,
Mr.
you can
Borelli,
Google
Mr.
it.
Borelli, with all
Mr.
due
Finkelstein.
respect, the problem, Mr. Borelli, is Mr. Bonnell, Mr. Bonnell, Mr. Borelli, Mr. Borelli, Mr. Borelli, Mr. Borelli.
Do you read the case?
Yeah.
It is
Mr.
a highly
Borelli.
special and this day on camera.
Mr.
You're
Borelli.
putting yours in
Mr.
books,
Borelli.
okay? Genocidal
Mr. Borelli.
intent. Mr. Finance on the 8th War.
Mr. Bonnell.
Wait, you do know how to pronounce my name. Are you mispronouncing it intentionally?
It may be meaningless to you, Mr.
It was
Bonnell.
meaningless to everyone
Okay,
in the region.
Mr. Bonnell, Mr.
Mr. Bonnell.
Bonnell.
The actual
Destiny
alternative.
should
yes,
talk about
your
making money
media,
off
your
of
media blitz.
idiocy.
We
Mr. Bonnell is now an expert on Palestinian mentality.
That's
Mr.
great.
Burrell,
What do you
Mr.
think those
Bonnell.
wars-
Okay,
okay,
Mr. Bonnell.
Mr.
Mr. Bonnell.
Because they were
Mr.
fake, or
Burrell,
that maybe
Mr. Burrell,
51% of the
Mr.
people were
Burrell.
killed.
Mr. Bonnell. Doesn't sound anything like it. Anyway, so yeah, as you saw there from the delightful cutaways, Benny, what's his face? Was in the, what's his name again? Benny, I keep wanting to say Benny Gantz, but that's an entirely different Israeli. Benny Morris. Yeah. One of the original new historians that actually went, oh, actually, no, there was the Nakba did happen. It was bad, actually. But he's still a Zionist, you know. He used to be a good historian, and now he's someone's evil nana in a McGill shirt, I suppose. I don't know.
He wears one hat when he's speaking in Israel or in some of his writings. But when he's speaking to a Western audience, like your program, he likes to appear to be humane, even a little bit impish, a little bit cherubic. He has a little smile and a laugh. So he is a moving target. I have asked him on several occasions. I have written more than 50 pages because I've read everything you've ever written multiple times. Just answer me in print. If I am misapprehending you, just...
I don't want adverts. Why is there adverts?
You reply. He says he will answer me. Right now he'll probably say, oh, of course I'll answer Finkelstein, but he never will. So finally, you have to pull down the facade and expose somebody who on all political and ideological issues is indistinguishable from Daniela Weiss.
Okay, Benny Morris, respond on the wider point in a moment, but first of all, let's talk about this issue of whether Hamas weaponized rape and sexual abuse. Earlier this year, an independent Israeli investigation...
Oh, God, they've been doing these fucking... This conversation's been happening for 3 fucking years now. How many times have we heard this exact fucking conversation? Holy shitballs. Right.
Published details of systematic, widespread sexual violence by Hamas on October the 7th. The Civil Commission's Silence No More report says in addition to interviews with survivors, it has more than 10,000 photographs and videos filmed by attackers. I have seen other reporting by people like Christina Lamb at the Sunday Times in the UK, who is one of the best journalists, I would argue, in the world, and certainly not partisan in any sense, reporting extensively on the weaponization of rape and sexual assault by Hamas. And yet there are people like Norma Finkelstein who are adamant it never happened. What do you say to that?
Well, as I said, it's nonsense like most of what Finkelstein talks and says. As you say, there were witnesses who ended up alive and saw rapes. There were lots of women who were raped and murdered and looked like they'd been raped and murdered. And there were also rapes, incidentally, of Israeli hostages, women hostages, and I think at least of one case of a male hostage raped by their Hamas captors while they were held in Gaza after October 7th.
Now, all of this is fucking terrible. Right? Evil Nana pointing out a terrible thing. Okay. Are we going to talk at all about the systemic and obviously allowed, if not necessarily directly ordered, systemic rape of Palestinians? We have them on camera doing it, and they got deliberately let off by the Israeli quote-unquote justice system. So, like, you can cry all the tears you like about rape and sexual assault until you stop being Rape Wakanda. You can fucking do one.
So I think this is pure nonsense. I noticed that Finkelstein said that he doesn't condemn the Hamas attack on Israel because it came after a lot of Israeli oppression of the Palestinians over the years. And incidentally, that's a point I've made myself, that the Israeli occupation since 1967, and if you like, what happened in 1948, in some way explains how the Hamas did what it did on October 7th. But this doesn't justify what happened, as Finkelstein was saying, and as this priest was trying to say, who incidentally, you asked him to condemn the Hamas invasion of October 7th, and he said, I don't condone it. He didn't say, I condemn it. He didn't say what you asked him to say.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed that.
I did, yeah.
Well, that's what happened. He didn't actually condemn it. But look, Finkelstein's take is ridiculous. I don't want to get into a academic dialogue with him. I've written what I believe is true of the history, and I've also written journalistic pieces regarding various things. The use of the word genocidal may go down well with left-leaning or delusioned Western academics, but that's not what happened in the Gaza Strip. There was a war there. Hamas took the first stage, started the war, launched the war, and Israel...
Because on October the 6th, nothing was happening. On October the 6th, absolutely nothing happened. There was no... October the 5th, nothing. October the 4th. It was just all peaceful and totally chill. And then Hamas started the war. Israel was just minding its own business, just chilling, you know. And then Hamas decided to do a little bit of war, so they had to kill everyone. Ugh. Honestly, the IDF, they're the biggest victims in all of this, I think. Because they didn't want to have to do genocide, but they were forced to. By being unprovokedly attacked by the Hamases. Am I getting it right, Mr. Morris? Is this your literal, actual fucking interpretation of events, you daft old cunt?
Struck back. You can say that Israel may have struck back disproportionately. That's a question which is up to, I don't know who, to decide whether it's disproportionate or not. But the Israeli counteroffensive wasn't against...
Look, how pathetic. You can't even do the mealy-mouthed Piers Morgan thing of saying it was disproportionate. Which at least gives you the wiggle room of saying, well, I'm not totally in support of Israel. I've said it was disproportionate. I've said they've gone too far. I tut-tutted when they killed all those children. He's not even doing that. He's like, well, look, it's up to someone else to decide. It's up to someone else to decide. Oh, what do you think I am? A political thinker and philosopher and historian? Who can make a judgment with my own fucking eyes about the things I see around me in the world? No. Don't be so silly. Other people have to decide whether it was disproportionate. Fuck off, man. Just fuck off and keep fucking off until it's impossible to fuck off anymore. And then fuck off some more.
The population of Gaza, it was against the Hamas. The Hamas was embedded among the people there, in the houses, in the residential buildings, in underground tunnels, under hospitals, under mosques, inside mosques, etc. And for the Israeli troops and Air Force to get at the Hamas fighters, they ended up collaterally killing the people among whom they were embedded, who incidentally supported the Hamas, who are their children and brothers and fathers, etc. They're not divorced.
Yeah, every Palestinian is a brother of Hamas. But you can't judge all Israelis by the actions of the Israeli government, don't you know? Jesus Christ.
From the general Gaza population. This is an idealized version of what goes on in the Gaza Strip. But in any case, there was a war. Israel killed tens of thousands of people in its counteroffensive, but told most of the civilians in most places, get out of this district, that district, the next district, and even individual houses, called people...
Right, and then bombed the places that they sent them to. Benny, we know they're killing people on purpose. Don't talk shit.
Up in their homes and said, we're about to attack this house because it contains Hamas positions or Hamas personnel. You have an hour to get out of here. We're bombing it. And they told people to leave. This isn't what people do in a genocide. Genocidaires, what they do is they actually round up people and massacre them. Israelis didn't massacre anybody, didn't line up people on the wall and shoot them. They told the civilians, move aside, we want to get to the Hamas. And a lot of people were killed in this process.
What, so genocide has to happen in that specific way for you to think of it as genocide? You're a lunatic, mate.
Because the Hamas, as I said, hid among them. The word genocide is an absurdity. I've actually studied the genocide by the Muslims. Let me add one sentence. I've actually studied thoroughly one genocide, not the Holocaust, the killing by Turks, the Turkish Muslims of the Christians in Turkey over the years 1894, 1924. I know exactly what a genocide looks like. You kill the men, you drive out the women, you kill the women, you rape the women, and you eventually kill as many people as you can. This isn't what happened in the Gaza Strip.
Okay, Danny Finkelstein, off the back of my interview with the Hamas spokesman.
May I respond to that?
Well, yeah, but
I would like to respond to that.
You can, but Norman, I also just want to conclude the debate by looking slightly forward, because there is supposedly a deal that's been proposed by the Americans where Hamas have apparently agreed if the Israelis leave Gaza that they will demilitarize. Do you think that is remotely likely to happen?
Well, let's start with the basics. I usually start with international law. And you'll forgive me if it sounds pedantic. And as international law has become more and more marginalized, fewer and fewer people are believing in it. But I still believe in its basic precepts. In July 2025, the International Court of Justice, the supreme legal body in the world, ruled that Israel's occupation of Gaza, Israel's occupation of the West Bank, including East Jerusalem and Gaza, are illegal under international law. And Israel has to leave as quickly, as rapidly as possible. That's the first precept for me, or foundation stone for me. The ICJ,
Hamas
the highest rule...
He asked you about Hamas disarming.
Sir, Mr. Morris, this is not...
Also, like, are Palestine able to defend themselves? Like, you say, and I'm constantly told that Israel has a right to defend itself. At what point does Palestine have a right to defend itself? Are the Palestinian government in this theoretical two-state fairyland Are they allowed to have an army, a navy, an air force at all? Are they allowed to defend themselves to any degree whatsoever? Because if not, you're sort of asking a little chicken to live next to a wolf without even a fence between them. I don't know how well that'll go for the chicken. Can they have nuclear weapons? Well, Israel doesn't have nuclear weapons. They've said so, and I totally believe them. And the fact that they're not allowing IAEA inspectors in is because they don't have any nuclear weapons. So why would they even need to be in there? What? Don't you trust us? Don't you trust that the Israeli government are telling the truth here? We don't have any nuclear weapons at all. Honest, guys. Honest. We don't. No.
Not the
You're
West
not answering
Bank.
his question.
You have to carry on in a civilized fashion. Very difficult for you, but try. Okay? Thank you. So, the bottom line is Israel has no title to any of Gaza. Number two, under international law, there is no prohibition on a people using armed force to expel an occupying power. There is no prohibition on that. Number three, it's odd that we should discuss Hamas having to disarm. Hamas committed a crime of significant magnitude on October 7th. Israel executed a genocide in Gaza, and it continues in its aim of trying to expel the entire population. So why is it that Hamas has to disarm itself, but Israel, the genocidal state, also the state that has breached the prime precept of international law by launching an aggression, a brazen, flagrant aggression, the most brazen, the most flagrant in the modern world against Iran? Why are we talking about Hamas having to disarm? But there's one last point, and this is the critical point. Yes, you've said enough.
Honestly, the aura is delicious. Yeah, you've said enough. That's good. Look, evil Nana, shut the fuck up, right? Shut the fuck up.
Critical point. There was no war in Gaza. Hamas is not armed. Piers, ask yourself a simple question. Gaza has been hermetically sealed for 3 years. How can it possibly have any ammunition at this point? This whole Hamas disarmament is a red herring so as to enable Israel to finish up the job it began on October 8th. And it has as its point man Nikolai Mladenov, who gives vomit a bad name.
Okay, Benny Morris, a final word to you.
Israel wants the Hamas disarmed because it doesn't want a repetition of what Hamas did on October 7th against Israel's civilian population in the south of the country. We don't want a repetition, and we don't want Hamas to do exactly the same thing. If you want to talk about Iran, you should mention that the Iranian regime slaughtered 30 to 40,000 of their own people, Muslims, Iranians, a few months ago. So I wouldn't...
Oh no, you need to get with the numbers. John Fetterman said 40 to 50,000. In the arms race of pretending that this massive number of people were killed, you've got to keep up with the numbers, Benny. You're a historian, mate. There's no excuse. By next week, it could be 1 million. Who knows?
Call it a very innocent country or a very innocent regime. Israel is afraid that the Iranians are trying to get atomic weaponry, and they have said they want to destroy Israel and will use that weaponry to destroy Israel. And that's why Israel has launched its attacks against Iran last year and this year, and that's why America joined them, incidentally, because Trump, whatever his shortcomings, understands that atomic weaponry in the hands of fanatic Islamists in Tehran are a danger not just to Israel, but to the Middle East and perhaps the world itself.
Okay, but like you've been promising us that they're like 10 minutes away from a nuclear bomb forever, and it hasn't happened. It's almost like you're lying, Mr. Morris. It's almost like you're a liar, isn't it?
I agree
Okay,
on that
I'm going to
point.
leave it there. Thank you both. I'm going to leave it there, Norman. I'm sorry. Norman, I'm sorry, we've run out of time. I thank you both very much indeed for a very interesting...
It was interesting, I guess. I'll give Piers Morgan that. It was interesting. Yeah. I'm impressed that you know the word quadrillion. Did I say quadrillion? I don't think I did. But I do know the word. But anyway. Okay. Question, Kev. If World War III started, will you get on stream? Well, assuming we aren't the first to be nuked. Yeah, I guess so. I think that would be something that would be worthy of talking about. If World War III started. Although, how would one know that it was a World War III? Who's classifying it as such? Like, there's the old joke, isn't there, about it was really pessimistic that they called it World War One, like they knew there was going to be another one, which of course is a funny little skit, but it wasn't called World War One, obviously, until the Second World War started. They called it the Great War. And then when the Second World War, and then they were like, oh yeah, that's the first one, and this is the second one. So who gets to decide? At what point does it become? Does there have to be a certain number of continents involved? A certain number of countries involved? Like, what's the threshold? I don't know. Oh, you were speaking to chat. Apologies. Well, it meant, well, the word great as in large, voluminous, numerous, that sort of thing, rather than good. And there's a great, you'd never actually used to mean good either, by the way. Like when you hear of Alfred the Great, or indeed when you hear of Ivan the Terrible, these aren't the things, right? They don't mean the same thing that they mean today. They sort of meant the same thing. Great and terrible just meant large, powerful, to be feared. Not necessarily good and bad in the way that we now understand them. Anyway, doesn't matter. Yeah, salutes in chat for Rory Katz. Absolute legend. It was a glory to know him. But his home planet needed him. And so he went there, to the ethereal plane, to knock things off God's table, probably. Just generally annoying. Step on God's face with his wet paw in the middle of the night. That was his sort of thing. Anyway, I'm gonna fuck off. He was a legend, an absolute legend. Right. It's still telling me I've got 20 gifties from Antifa Vegan Boy, and they've been there for about an hour. So I think it might have glitched. I've come to that very slow realization. Anyway, where are we? Customization, redirect. Who is going on Twitch? Some random geek. I need to get more people on YouTube that I follow. I really do. Anyway. And who is going on here? James from the internet. We haven't been over there in a hot minute. Hey, hello there, Kevin FM. Everyone go and follow the Kevin FM, even though I'm not sure they stream anymore. But you should go and follow them anyway, because I've said so. Okie doke. As always, chitty chats and kitty cats. Free Palestine and that. No pass around.